Hey everybody, it's Renee and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I want to get into the idea of the military performing law enforcement functions in America as they've been deployed in Washington, D.C. and Los Angeles, and there are threats to deploy them in other cities that are deemed to be high crime areas. And I have some things to say about that as a former police officer. So let's get into that. First off, I want to say sorry. I would like to be doing fun content and music videos and golf stuff and talking about Jess and how awesome she is and how great our relationship is going and all of those fun things. But part of the reason that I'm here on YouTube and in other social media spaces is to talk, I believe, relatively intelligently about some of the issues that are coming up in our country, and this is a big one for me. So I served as a police officer in the 1990s out in California, and I served as an investigator for almost 5 years of that career. I left law enforcement to spend more time with my kids and to focus on other business activities with my now ex-wife at the time. And I have some very strong opinions about the military performing police functions here in America. So the first issue that I have is that I believe that the military performing police functions in America is unconstitutional. And here's why. The founders of our nation knew that there needed to be a separation of power so that no one branch of our government could wield ultimate overriding authority over the other two branches that they established. And the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch all have very specific functions that are outlined in the Constitution. Law enforcement falls squarely and directly under the judicial branch of our government. And as such, law enforcement is not supposed to be beholden to the political part of the operation of our government. The judicial branch is supposed to be enforcing the law, also reviewing laws to verify that they are in fact constitutional, and make changes in the laws that are not and remove laws that are not, and also to enforce the law and provide due process and search and seizure rights and the other things that are outlined in the Constitution of the United States. The deployment of the military falls under the executive branch. The president is the commander-in-chief in the military, and he does have the authority to deploy troops in certain circumstances and in certain ways as commander-in-chief. The use of our military or National Guard troops within the borders of our country are only supposed to be used in some very specific circumstances like natural disasters or other issues where a state governor has requested the assistance of the federal government to maintain order or to provide disaster relief or logistical functions in the event of unusual circumstances. And law enforcement is not one of those issues. One of the biggest things that the founders of our nation were upset about in the years prior to the American Revolution was the use of military troops to enforce the King's Law. And they had the authority pretty much at whim to arrest people, to search people's homes based on just a vague suspicion that somebody might be disloyal to the king or might be harboring a fugitive or might be concealing contraband of some sort. And they had basically carte blanche to do anything they wanted within the borders of the United States. And there was no redress at the time for the colonists who lived here to effectively argue that their rights were being violated because it was subject to the law of the king. And so they felt it very, very important that the judicial branch was separate from the political side of things, and that their focus should be on the enforcement of law with due process and all of the things that the Constitution was set up with, like search and seizure and through case law, Miranda rights and the right against self-incrimination and other things that protect all of us from the whims of a political party or from a demagogue or somebody who just wants to have us investigated or arrested at their whim because they don't like us. So that's the first part of why I don't like the military and the National Guard performing police functions within the borders of the United States. It's unconstitutional.